If a firm defaults on its obligations, it may lose assets and may even go bankrupt. Indeed, a classic example of WorldCom, which filed for bankruptcy protection in 2002 when it was nation's number two long distance phone company. With $102 billion in assets, WorldCom's bankruptcy is the largest in the US history. Even with those massive assets, however, the firm was crushed by its $41 billion debt, $24 billion of which was in bonds, facing prospects that the firm would default on upcoming interest payments. Many of its creditors began withholding additional money unless loans were secured with WorldCom assets. With more than 1,000 creditors, including Citibank, JP Morgan Chase, and Credit Suisse First Boston, the firm is allowed to operate while in bankruptcy, but all of its financing must be approved by the bankruptcy code. Likewise, during 2001-2002 Argentina financial crisis, banks around the world suffered when Argentina borrowers, large companies, and the government could not repay outstanding debts. Some borrower companies went bankrupt, defaulting on obligations to foreign investors. Faced with the struggling economy, Argentina's government could not meet payments on its $132 billion debt, and Fleet Boston Financial Corp, the Boston-based banking company, and the attributes much of its 386 million second quarter losses for 2002 to investment in Argentina. So these were the losses by different companies in Argentina. Similarly, US, French, British, and Spanish banks have written off losses as a result of bad loans in Argentina. Because of the risk of default, debt financing appeals most strongly to the companies and industries that have predictable profits and cash flows patterns. For example, demand of the electric power is quite steady from year to year and predictable from month to month. Thus, electric utility companies enjoy uh, streams of income that can carry substantial amount of debt. DTE Energy Corporate, a major privately owned utility that includes subsidiary Detroit Edison as a representative example. It typically retains about 60% of its long term funding in the form of debt. Equity from common stock retained earning provides about 40%. In times past, a small percentage, say about 2%, DTE's long term capital has been the equity preferential stock or topic discussed earlier in the same series of tutorial. Now we talk about a slightly different kind of financing. We call it hybrid financing, a preferred stock. A middle ground between the debt financing and the equity financing is the use of preferred stock. And preferred stock is a hybrid one because it has some of the features of both corporate bonds and the common stocks. As with bond, for instance, the payments on preferred stock are fixed amounts such as $6 per share per year. Unlike bonds, however, preferred stock never matures like commodity stocks. It can be held indefinitely. In addition, preferred stockholders have firm rights over common stockholders to dividends. A major advantage to the issuer, a major advantage to the issuer is the flexibility of the preferred stock because preferred stocks have no voting rights. The stock secures funds for the company without jeopardizing corporate control of its management. Furthermore, the corporations are not obligated to repay the principal and can withhold payments of dividends in lean times. Choosing between debt and equity financing. Needless to say, an aspect of financial planning is a striking balance between the debt and equity financing. Because a firm relies on a mix of debt and equity raise, the cash needed for capital outlays, and the mix is called Uh, Capital structure. Well, capital structure financial planning does contain targets for capital structure, and it can have an example of that would be 40% debt and 60% equity. 40% for the debt and 60% for the equity. But choosing a target is not easy. A wide range of mixes is possible, and the strategies can range from conservative to the risky ones.